Welcome to Beyond the Next Chapter. I am your host, Whitney Clark, and I am so excited about this episode. Actually, when we first decided to do a podcast, this is one of my initial ideas. I am a huge fan of local libraries. If you're a regular listener, you certainly know that. So on this episode, we brought in 3 of our friends from the Phoenix Public Library, and we're answering all of your burning library questions, like what do librarians do? Do they get to read all day? Spoiler alert, that's not the case. Joining us today, we have Erin McFarland, the Library Services Director for the Phoenix Public Library System. We also have Gladys Moreno, who runs Phoenix Works programs at the Ocotillo Library. And then we also have Jesse Spalding, the manager at the Saguaro Library. So thank you all so much for joining us.
Thank you
for having us.
This is so fun, you guys. I'm so excited about this. So Erin, you just started with the Phoenix Public Library System last year. Tell me a little bit about what you do.
Sure. So I started last year in July. As the director, it's my job to kind of remove barriers so that the folks that work at the library are able to do their jobs to provide resources to the community. And I do that in lots of different ways, working with an executive team that oversees facilities and branch operations, security, all of the different things that libraries do. But I also work closely with folks at City Hall to make sure that the library fits the mission of the city and is aligned with the direction that the city would like the library to go. So I get to do lots of different stuff and be all over the place all the time, which I love to do.
I love that. Gladys, you are the longest running employee of the library system, at least here sitting at this table. Tell me a little bit about what you do and how long you've been working for the library.
I have been working with the library almost 17 years.
Wow.
That has been a process. I started with circulation, and right now I am librarian too, working in a Ocotillo library for workforce area.
What about you, Jesse?
So I've been a librarian for about 20 years, but I've only been with Phoenix. I'm coming up on my 6 months right now. And I'm the branch manager of the Saguaro Branch. It's a neighborhood library, and I love it. Every day is different, and we get to serve the community daily.
And how many libraries are there in the Phoenix Public Library System?
So we have Burton Bar, which is our central library. We have 16 satellite branches and a bookmobile. So altogether, 18 things that serve the community. But in the next 5 years or so, we are building 2 additional branches and expanding one, which was a Go Bond initiative that the city of Phoenix passed last year. So more to come.
Wow.
Exciting.
Yeah.
That is exciting.
Yeah.
I was not aware of that. So that is breaking news to me, which is very exciting. Okay, so the first question, which is something I know so many people will be curious about. And Jesse, I'll start with you.
Sure.
What do librarians do?
Okay, so this is such a good question. Librarians do everything, literally everything. I mean, people can come in and ask us for computer help getting a job, help finding their next book to read, help getting their children literacy skills and getting them to start reading, programming, doing crafts with kids, doing crafts with adults. There's a wide range.
And there's so many programs and story times and so many things available for families for free. Gladys, tell me a little bit about what you do with some of those programs.
Yes, so I work in a Ocotillo library, as I said before. I work with the workforce area, so my day is very mixed with things like working with people that are looking for a job, create resume, cover letters, but at the same time, I help a small business owner. They go to the library to get resources. Besides of that, I'm working with the community. I am working, having partnerships with other organizations to bring resources to the library. As librarian too, I also I am assistant manager, so I need to deal with everything in the building in order to open the library and bring the community inside. Everything needs to run smooth. Payroll, schedules, building problems. So besides of that, we create programs. So it's a busy day. People sometimes think that we check in and check out items. We do that. But also, we have too much to do. I wish that we have the opportunity to sit and read all day, but that is not the case.
Unfortunately. If we could just read all day for work, I'm pretty sure that's what we would all maybe be doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Gladys, what's your favorite thing about your job?
Working with people and for people. Working directly with the community. See how the resources that I can provide to them, workforce or start a business or start any class, they are going to help them to grow. And that is something that's very rewarding for me. See how the resources, the programs, everything that we do help them to be better.
And Erin, you said something really interesting. You said, of course, if you're going to work at a library, you should love books, but you really have to love people.
Sure. Yeah. You have to love the people that are coming in. Libraries are reflections of their community. So when you're looking at little libraries, big libraries, wherever you are, libraries are local. So the people in the community that Jesse serves at Saguaro are different than the people in the community that Gladys serves at Ocotillo, even though they're just a few miles apart. Those communities are different and their needs are different. So that's one of the coolest things that libraries do is make sure that whatever they're doing in their branch is reflective of what that need of the community is. We don't come in and decide, today we're going to do a program on cover letters at the library if we're in a building that serves mostly retired folks, that is in an area of the city that's active adult, right? We're going to be looking to the community to see what that need is and create programs around that. And so really it's about looking to the community and what their needs are and answering the questions of the folks that come in every day, because everybody has a kind of a unique perspective on what they need from your library.
And what are some of the most common questions? We'll start with you, Jesse. Like, what are some of the most common questions you get from the public?
I was thinking about this. I think the questions that we get the most at Saguaro specifically, we get a lot of people coming in looking for computer assistance because there's a wide range of different skill levels. So we get a lot of people coming in looking for help with that. We get a lot of job seekers, which might be similar to Ocotillo. And then at Saguaro, we get a lot of people coming in looking for their next book and wanting reader's advisory.
What is it like for you to help people find their next book?
I love it. It's my favorite thing. I mean, and I'll look at what people are checking out and make suggestions too. I think it's really rewarding. There's nothing better than connecting with someone in your community and having them come back and say, that was a great book. Can you give me another suggestion? It's really pretty magical.
I love that. It so is. And you get those return people because
You
everyone
do.
has their, I go to I believe it's the Yucca location. Like that's my spot. I mean, I love Burton Bar, but I can't always get down there because that's such a beautiful space. So everyone has their library and you see the same people, which is so much fun.
Yeah.
All right, I'll give you a preview, Whitney.
Okay.
Yucca is growing. In the next couple of years, it's going to double in size.
Really?
So,
Yeah.
yeah, that was part of that Go Bond. So that's the one that's growing. So you'll get to go to that library and have even more space coming up real soon.
That is so exciting. And I tend to just go to pick up holds. Like I'll browse, but it's my closest one. I'm going to go there to pick up my holds. Erin, I asked Gladys and I asked Jesse this. What does your typical day look like? Do you even have like a typical day?
I don't really have a typical day. There's lots of meetings. I will say that. I have a lot of meetings in my job, a lot of connecting with folks. One of the things that libraries do great is partnering with the community. So partnering with other organizations or other city departments. So I often am kind of in on the start of that or, working towards building a new partnership. So I'll give an example. The Phoenix Community Economic Development Department has a mobile career unit, which is like a bus that drives around and helps people get set and ready to go. And we kind of were a multiplier for that. They started this program and were having trouble finding people to come into the bus to get this help. They showed up at a library and immediately, exponentially, their numbers went up. And so starting to build some relationships like that, some partnerships. And I do talk a lot about what the library does because I think it's surprising for some folks, all of the different resources that we have. So my typical day is meetings. I go from Burton Bar. Sometimes I'm at City Hall. Sometimes I'm out at podcasts talking to folks like you. But I love to talk about libraries and advocate for all the great work that we do.
Yeah, I think the traditional mindset is, libraries are where you go to get free books that maybe were published a really long time ago, but that could not be more different from the reality.
And one thing you asked before, Jesse, what people look for. In my case, was working with workforce, people looking for resume, cover letter, ESL classes, computer classes, but the main thing, all the community looking for support. And we are there to try to support the community in different ways that we can.
Definitely.
And what did you have to study? Did you study something in particular to prepare yourself for this job?
Well, I am a little different here. I am no librarian. I didn't study librarian science, but I am a speech therapist and healthcare administrator.
Okay.
So this background give me the tools to help the community. My knowledge in communication, education, and partnerships get me the tools to be here, help people start a business or help people looking for a job or find the resources the community is looking for. So it's something I love to do. I love partnerships. I love working with the community and see how we can help them.
And I think that's just such a good example of all the different people who work at within the library system. Jesse, did you study library sciences? What was your sort of background in education like?
Yeah. Well, so I got my master's in library science, but really to be a librarian, I mean, undergraduate degree, you can do anything.
Okay.
It doesn't really matter. So I would say follow your passion. And then to be a professional librarian, you had to get your library degree in library science for most library systems. Some are making changes based on years of experience. But I did get my master's right away, and then I just went in. I was actually a hospital librarian first.
Oh, wow.
That was my first job. And that's another thing. There's librarians in so many different businesses and roles outside of just the public library.
And then, Erin, before you were in Phoenix, what was your experience with libraries before you came here?
So I started actually my library career in Phoenix in 2006, but then I left and I kind of bobbled around in a bunch of different roles. But I worked for the Buckeye Public Library for a little bit, and I was with Maricopa County Library District for a long time, and I ended up there as deputy director. So prior to that, I was an educator. I think we see a lot of folks that do that, start as teachers and then move into library science. But I do have that degree in library science. With Phoenix Public Library, you can be a librarian, our first couple of levels, without the master's in library science. You do need a master's degree, but it doesn't have to be in library science. Yeah.
I may be the queen of holds at the Phoenix Public Library. I constantly have about 10 holds at a time, new titles, things that are popular. Can you explain how the holds process works?
Sure. So basically the way the holds process works is I like to call it free shopping for books. You can go online or you can use our Phoenix Public Library app and you can pull up the catalog, select the books you want, and then you just hit the hold button. It links right up to your account. You can also, if you maybe aren't as technologically savvy, you can call our number and people can do that for you, or you can come in person and place the holds, and library staff are happy to do that for you. If the book is not at your standard location, because we have so many different locations, it'll be sent via courier. So somebody will actually go between the locations and drive and pick them up, bring it to the location where you want to pick it up, and you just come once it's arrived. We'll get an email or a text, depending on how your notifications are set up. You show up when it's there, you take it off the shelf, and you take it home.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's me waiting for me on the shelf. How do you know how many copies of a book to have? Like, say, for example, I'll use The Women by Kristen Hanna. That was a really popular book last year. I mean, how does a library know how many copies to get? How many can you get? How does that really work?
Magic.
It's magic.
Okay, so we have a team that work always with the collection. And they know how add the books and items to the collection. We use a library industrial collection analysis platform that is going to give us the numbers. So we see all the books in all the different libraries, and we see how that are behaving, how many checkouts they have. According to that, we can the platform is going to give us the number, the books that we need to add the collection. For example, other way is Kristen Hanna. She's going to release a book in August 2025. So we pay attention to the popular authors, what is the new release, and the platform is going to give us the number, the number of books that we need to add according to the past track of this author. Also, we check the holds. If we see the book have too many holds, we can add books for this. Also, customer can suggest parts of specific books. So actually, we have a team that's dedicated to that.
That's so fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And how does it work with eBooks? I mean, how do you have a certain number of copyrighted copies that you can digitally check out to people?
Mm-hmm. It's a little bit trickier with eBooks. So libraries do spend more on eBooks than we do on physical books on the shelf. And I think we're still trying to figure out the right formula with the publishers. There has been a little bit of push and pull with the publishing industry and libraries with eBooks. We're charged a lot more, and there's a whole different way. There's a bunch of different ways that we are able to provide those to the public. So one of those is that we do order like one copy, one user, almost like it's a physical book on the shelf, right? So we would order 5 copies of, if you use Libby, which is our library app to download books, we'll order maybe 5 copies of the book and then look the same, that we look at the holds ratio. There's a little bit more of a limit there, though, because we could end up spending our entire collection budget on digital items, depending. So sometimes you might have to wait a little longer for an ebook just because of that. And some of them are metered access. So they let us buy 1 copy, and then after 2 years, it disappears and we have to buy it again.
Oh.
Whereas physical books will stay on the shelf for as long as possible until they are not able, they're kind of falling apart or they're not being checked out anymore. And then there are other models like Hoopla, which is another app that you can download. And those are always available. We don't pay for it until you check it out. Okay. So once you check it out, that's when the library is charged. But I think that push and pull with the publishing industry wanting to sell to the library at a higher cost has always been kind of more difficult, and we're looking for the best way and the best model, and we haven't quite gotten there yet.
What is more popular right now, physical books, ebooks, or audiobooks?
Right now for January 2025 was very even though digital have a little high. We check out around 525,000 digital items compared with 368,000 physical items.
Okay.
But still, people are still loving physical items. I love physical items. I love how it smells, how new books I can touch.
Yeah.
I love that. But people that go all the time, digital item is very good.
Yeah. And people are pretty passionate about their choices too. Yeah. I think audiobooks are on the rise. I mean, I don't have data to back that up. It's just like an intuition. But I do think more people are using audiobooks, specifically children, because it's really great for children who are reluctant readers to listen to the audiobook at the same time that they're reading it.
And I know a lot of busy parents and women and adults who are turning to audiobooks because they feel like they don't have time to actually sit down and read a physical book. Do any of you guys have a preference? I mean, I feel like everyone kind of secretly has a preference.
Yeah. I think we all do. I listen to a ton of audiobooks, and I listen to them at almost 2 times speed, so a little bit faster. It helps me get through them. I wouldn't be able to read nearly as many books if I didn't have audiobooks as an option. And I will say, if you're looking at physical copy versus digital copy, audiobooks by far, digital, that is, that format will soar. Like no one's ever going to go back to checking out the big box of CDs. Maybe they will, I don't know.
Still
but
popular at Saguaro, though.
It's still, people still come and get them. But the digital audiobooks, I think, are much more popular. And so, I'm an audiobook fan. And I have my favorite narrators. Sometimes I read a book that I didn't even know was out there just because I like the narrator so much that I was looking for something that they read. So...
For me, physical, I still with physical. It's very practical have the digital, but it's something romantic for me and the physical item.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. I'm usually reading something on my Kindle. I'm usually listening to a book, and I'm usually reading an actual physical copy. And there is something special, particularly about actual library books.
There is. I'm with you, Erin. I'm always doing audiobooks, but I have a giant stack of physical books next to my bed that I'm like aspirationally going to get to that have been there for years. So
and I think the format too, right? Like I like to read poetry in a physical book. I don't want that in a digital book. If I'm reading poetry, I want to be able to see it on the page. But if it's nonfiction, I always want audio for some reason. So I think it really depends on what you're reading, for me anyway. But everybody has their preference, and we don't want to yuck anybody's yum.
Totally.
As long as you're out there reading and reading from the library, go for it.
And your preference
Absolutely.
could change based on your life circumstances too, but we have all of them.
Yeah.
So
I used to not be into audiobooks, but now I love audiobooks, nonfiction in particular. I usually listen at 1.5. Do not listen to this podcast, though, any more than one, because I talk really fast. And one time I accidentally pulled up my own podcast, and I'm like, why does my voice sound like that? Oh, because it's 1.5. So just maybe stick with one at least for this, and it won't take you so long. So like we mentioned, there are some books that are hugely popular. You can put your name sort of on the list even before the book is available in the library. What advice would you have for somebody who maybe is really eager to read something that's really popular right now?
We have different platforms. So if you not find the book physical, you go to digital, and maybe they have less holes, or you can jump from Hoopla, that is one of the provider, or the digital library. So don't stay with one, in my case. Look what we can go there. Always be checking what is trendy, what is coming up, and start putting holds.
I have a running holds list on Libby that and I also, the other tip is get a library card at every library system that you can. Because it actually allows you more holds, and it allows you access to different collections, and we're not competing. Like, the libraries are all working together. So I have a library card, I think at like 5 or 6 different library systems. And then you can just stack your holds. So I constantly have things in Libby that are popping up that I just delay until I'm ready for my next one.
Yeah, because that's the hard thing sometimes. If I have something on my Kindle, but I haven't finished something else, you kind of have to wait for that. And so you can go to Phoenix, you could go to the Maricopa County Library District as well,
Definitely.
which we have had them on, and we are, as you are, friends with all the library folks, which we really appreciate it. I also want to ask you about late fees, because a lot of people think there are still late fees at the library. That is not the case anymore for a lot of public library systems. What has been the impact of getting rid of late fees?
So we got rid of late fees, and a lot of people thought that would extend or make the holds list longer, because people would just keep the books for as long as they want. And actually, that wasn't something that we found in the data. What we found was that there were books that people hadn't brought back for fear of late fees, that all of a sudden we had a bunch of books come back into the collection that had been long overdue. And the other thing that I think is really important to point out, that late fees overwhelmingly impacted communities that had lower socioeconomic justice, right? So communities that were struggling anyway and then just stopped using the library. So folks that had kids in school might have had a late fee that they couldn't pay, stopped bringing their kids to the library. And so when we looked at and compared areas of the city that had late fees, those areas that were lower socioeconomically really were much more impacted by that. And so this really levels the playing field, because it just has people bring back the books there. As long as you bring it back, there's no late fees on it. And we take those charges off of the account. And so, yeah, go ahead, Gladys.
Okay. In 2019, we launched the campaign All Fine Forgiven. So when we clear all the late fees, that was back, and we stopped charging for the daily fees. Okay? That allowed the community to come back, because the study, the research looked that people are not going to we are going to put in a barrier there when people trying to come to the library. One of the purpose, the mission of the library is connect the community with the resources. So we stop charging that. However, we continue charging for damaged items or lost items, okay, but not daily. That doesn't work. It's have been wonderful. That happened in 2019, when after that, COVID pushed everything. So it was good opportunity, and at the same time, people be connected with the library and live, because they have the opportunity to check more items.
That was perfect timing.
Yeah.
And I think COVID was when I started getting really into reading even more than I always have been, and also utilizing the library a lot more. I remember in those first few years, you could go and do the curbside at the Phoenix Libraries, which was a really good option. Kind of going back to what you were saying, Erin, earlier about the physical copies versus the digital copies and how one is more expensive. Can you just kind of run us through library funding? We know books can be expensive. I mean, if you go to the bookstore, it can be, $25, $30. Happy to pay that, obviously, if you can. But generally, where does the money for the library system come from?
So generally, it comes locally. There are 14 independent public library systems in Maricopa County. And it comes, those systems are funded through taxes from those municipalities. That's how Phoenix funds the library, the same as most other services the city funds. And so those 90%, in general, and I'm not speaking specifically to Phoenix, but 90% of the funds for a library does come locally. It can get a little bit more complicated. In Maricopa County, everybody also pays a tax to the Maricopa County Library District. And so Phoenix does get some kickback from that. Like the county will pay for, our summer reading program. They help to pay for a little bit of our collection. Folks pay taxes. That comes back to your public library. We also receive grants for special programs and things like that. So it could be a statewide grant or something from a private philanthropic organization. So we do see that in places like College Depot. Some of their big programs do get funded through grants that we find, and our library foundation helps with that. But most of the funding does come from local sources.
Okay. So I would be remiss if I didn't ask you guys this question. We'll start with you, Jesse. When did you first kind of fall in love with libraries, and what are some of the books you like to read right now?
Okay, so I first fell in love with libraries when I was in grade school. I went to a school that was right across from the Scottsdale Civic Center, actually. And so I would walk to the library after school and study there. And that's how I fell in love with libraries. I just felt so comfortable and welcomed there. And favorite books right now?
Yeah, like what's your genre?
Well, so I don't have a specific genre. If I had to pick one, it would either be science fiction or literary fiction, because I love Octavia Butler is one of my favorite authors. Yeah. But the best book that I've read recently was All the Colors of the Dark by Whitaker. And I know that was on your list. Yeah. I'm going to go through your entire list because half of them that I read I've read half of them and I was like, yes.
That was such a good book. And it was a long one, but it was super powerful. It was like one of the ones you'd think about for a long time.
Forever. I mean, it patches in my heart forever.
Yeah. So, Gladys, what about you?
Well, I think always have been in love with books, but working with kids, they have issues learning or some difficulty learning in school. As a speech therapist, I start that process. And my favorite genre is true crime. I love true crime. I am guilty. I love true crime, and also I love a Latin American author, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, Laura Restrepo, Paulo Coelho. That are my favorites. I don't go sometimes what is trendy. I like to explore what is in the library. I find sometimes an old book that I never know that was there, and I like, but true crime, serial killers. I don't know why.
You're definitely not alone in that. I mean, even like outside of books, that is a super popular genre. People are just fascinated by those types of things. I love it. What about you?
I fell in love with libraries early on. So my mom used to take us when I was a kid. For a little while, we lived on a farm, had farmland. And I can remember back when it was a little pocket that had the piece of paper in it.
Yes,
and they would
the stamp.
So we get home from the library and my mom would take all of those out of the books and then just let us go. And then when it was time to go back to the library, she'd hand us our cards back and be like, these are the books that you have to go around the farm to like the barn and this like chicken coop, wherever the books were that we would take and drag with us. So I love books. My genre, I typically read realistic fiction, and I do some nonfiction. So I like literary fiction, but I'm not opposed to a good rom-com. Some of my favorites that I've read recently, Shy Creatures by Claire Chambers. It's about a woman who is an art therapist in a mental institution in England in like the 50s. And she is so like practical and a straight shooter, but then all this different stuff happens. And so anyway, I liked that one a lot. And then I also just read one by Annie Hartnett called The Road to Tender Hearts. And it's about a man who is grieving a lost daughter and kind of having a hard time and inherits a pair of kids whose parents died. They're orphans and it was his brother's kids, but they didn't know him. And he decides to go on a road trip to find a lost love of his life and takes these kids along with him. And it is as quirky as it sounds, and they run into all these problems, but it's a very heartwarming story. So I liked that one a lot.
I love that.
Yeah.
Before we go, I'll sort of go around the room again and ask, what's like a big misconception of libraries, the public library system, that you would maybe just want to clear up or let people know about? I'll start with you, Jesse.
I think my number one is that the library is a quiet place.
That's true.
Mine. Did I take this?
Yeah, people come in and they're like, oh, it's supposed to be quiet. I'm like, no, this is a community meeting place. Like, we want you here. We want you engaging with each other. We want you asking for help. We want you using our building. So it's not quiet anymore.
I know. I think there's still, even when I go into the library, I feel like I need to whisper, and I know that I don't necessarily need to do that. Is that like more of a recent change in the last 20 years or so, you think?
I would say in the last 20 years or so. Yeah. For public libraries especially. Academic, and like, so if someone's looking for a quiet space, an academic library is a great option. But the public library definitely gets noisy. I mean, after a story time, you got 30 kids in there that are under the age of 5. It's going to be noisy.
Yeah. Well, and we do still have study rooms and quiet spaces too.
Yeah.
So that's still available. But
And I feel like Burton Bar especially, there's so many levels that you can go up to one of the upper levels and you're going to find like a quiet little space.
Definitely.
Library is vibrant. It's moving all the time. We have kids, we have teenagers, we have people giving classes. So it's not quiet all the time. It's noise, but everybody's working, it's moving. It's nothing calm that used to be. And also, librarian, we do more than technical items. We are busy people, believe it. Sometimes it's stressful because you do too many different things. Program, you give classes, you prepare meetings, you go with partners. So it's a busy job.
Mm-hmm. Thank you guys so much for being here. Is there anything else?
Lovely.
Anything you want to ask or add?
No, I think that I will just say, one of the misconceptions for libraries that I know out there is that it's just for kids and story time and books. And I want to emphasize that the library does a million different things. And so we help people find jobs. We connect them with a community. So whatever you're looking to do in your life, if you have something that you're looking to move forward on, come and see us and start with us and we'll get you connected. We'll get you seeds. We'll get you a culture pass. We'll get you out there in the world.
Oh, I didn't even ask how the culture pass is, which I use all the time. And I'm
great.
constantly talking to people about the culture pass. Does anyone want to explain how that works?
I can explain it.
Okay.
So the Culture Pass program is a program that we have with different nonprofits, museums, and parks throughout the area where they provide us so many free passes and different locations. Different locations set them out on a daily basis. So you can come up to your local Phoenix Public Library and you can see what's available. We have little cards that list all the different locations. If it's there, you grab it, you take it to the desk and check it out, and then you get 2 tickets for people to go to that establishment within the next 7 days.
And it's lots of stuff. Desert Botanical Garden, Heard Museum, Phoenix Art Museum. So
opera
if you're
now,
looking
too.
to impress a date on the cheap, come to the library. We got your back. So you can get tickets to the opera, tickets to the symphony, all kinds of fun stuff.
I love that. It's
And
great.
everything's free. That's the best thing about the library.
Yeah,
Everything
always
is free.
Everything's
I mean, that
always
is
free.
like free is these days is like the seller best word ever. Free books, free tickets, free stuff. So we love
Definitely.
it. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you for
inviting
having
us.
us.